All right, my friends. Before we get the intro going and all of that stuff, just want to make sure everyone's mics are working well. How we doing today?
Hey guys, what's going on? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this conversation. Oh, I think Dilly just dropped out.
Hey, how's it going,
Oh,
guys?
Good, Ice. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me up here with you guys. How's
Yeah, it's
everyone's
gonna
Thursday been so far?
been hectic over here. Lots of stuff going on in IRL and Web3, but it's been good. Very productive.
Yeah, it's always good to keep busy, right?
Oh, for sure, for sure. Dilly,
How's it going, guys?
we in. Yes.
I was trying to
We're
figure
good.
out the new
We're good.
Spaces UI.
New spaces.
Yeah, isn't it? Isn't it? It looks a little different than I'm used to.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, you could be right. Maybe I need to update my Twitter. It's the funny thing, right?
Yeah,
Like Twitter is just like everybody's looks different. Some don't update properly. Free Market, who I often host spaces with, I mean, like he can't even host them. It's bizarre.
yep. Every time I see screenshots, I'm like, I don't have that. So I'm not. I'm not.
And
I'm not the best at navigating it, to be honest. But I want to thank you guys for having us up
and to
here.
think Elon was gonna play 44
Oh
billion for
yeah,
that, you
while selling his
know.
Bitcoin.
Oh, well, that's a whole other topic, but one for another day. All right. I mean, people always file in throughout the course of the spaces, but yeah, it is Terrestrial Thursday, July 28th, and we have a really good panel up here. Kind of a little bit of a deviation from our normal thing, but I think there still is a lot of P2E spirit going on with, of course, the Satoshi Runners and the Galactic Apes project, but there's also a couple of parallels to be drawn between the two projects in that it's definitely um, gone through some changes of management throughout the time. Satoshi Runner's obviously a little bit more recent, but that's now being shepherded by Ice, who's up on stage with us, and of course we have DillyDilly and Kyle loves tacos. I think everybody loves tacos, but Kyle especially loves tacos, and they've been taking good care of the Galactic Apes projects for the last little bit. We will definitely get into those projects specifically in a little bit, but for those of you that haven't been following along, Galactic Apes coming up on a year since they minted. The Genesis have been out for probably just a little bit more than that now, so quite a storied long history with them. One of my fondest memories in the NFT space was staying up late at night, waiting to mint that, waiting to get word that the contract was going live. Scott is in the audience. Remember being in Alpha Mint and voice chat with him, just waiting to smash those buttons. And of course they had quite a good run for a little bit. Correct me if I'm wrong. Almost 3 ETH at one point.
Oh yeah, yeah. Those first couple of weeks, we definitely soared pretty high, and I remember back then when I had actually found it about like 2 days after the mint for the generative collection launched, and like I was astounded seeing like those first 8 days of volume. I had never seen anything like it before, and I was like, this is going to be the next one up, like for sure. It had the right recipe for success. It seemed like it was
Yes.
being managed really well and like very like micromanaged. So it was really. I don't think anybody was willing to sell when it was running higher than 3 at the time.
That's right. And I always just remember that the reveal process, it wasn't overly long. But when the artwork popped out, it was like there was this moment of like, oh damn, like these are really good. And you don't normally get that post reveal kind of run up, but they were on an incredible run. I think over 18,000 ETH in volume traded in that last year. So really incredible. But we'll talk a little bit more about the Galactic Apes. And then, of course, Satoshi Runners minted about 5 months ago. Very heavy on the animation, very stylized cyberpunk. Always been a fan of the artwork over there, too. But really happy to have Ice up on stage. So, on that note, I just want to give you all just a couple minutes to kind of introduce yourselves, your backgrounds, how you got into crypto, how you got into NFTs, and just kind of set the stage for where we are now in at the end of July in 2022. Ice, you wanna kick us off?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, what a journey it has been since the start of everything. I actually got into crypto last year around summertime, and back then, like I was just a lurker, right? I was just researching stuff. I hear all these buzzwords going around, and I think it really didn't solidify in our system until the Lakers arena. They rebranded into crypto.com, and then I think like that was the real aha moment where people like average everyday people are seeing this like when they're walking by the Lakers arena. I think that was the turning point, and it started to make everybody believe a little bit more.
It
Obviously,
made
that was
its
a couple of
debut on Christmas Day, the Christmas Day Lakers game too. Yeah.
oh yeah, yeah, all the commercials, all the talk of the Basie commercial, all those. It was the golden moment for everyone for sure. But then I didn't really get into NFTs probably until I would say September. That was when I bought my first NFT. It was actually a project called Immortal Monks. It was a DAO project based on a Rebase. It was a Olympus fork. And I mean, not to talk too much about that because I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone here knows how that went down. But that definitely opened the floodgates to see and understand what are the potentials that you can make in crypto because you can make a lot. But just in the same token, that volatility works both ways, right? So sure, you can make a lot, but you can also dive and really break a lot too. So you really got to be careful. And I think that's why education in this space is so important. And I'm so glad that we're having this space right now and we're having the opportunity to do this.
Yeah, I love it, and thrilled to have you all up here. Kyle, you wanna kick off that question as well?
Sure. Hey guys, what's up? So how I got in this space was through Discord. I started trading stock back when COVID was really bad and everyone was on lockdown. Met like a bunch of friends in really cool stock trading discords, and then ended up making my own, and it was pretty fun. I had friends make like millions of dollars off GameStop and stuff, and I had like barely missed out. I had bought but been sold before like the moon. So I knew like using Discord and stuff was a good place to make money now. Like you always have to have a hustle, some way to make money, and Discord was popping. So I kind of stuck around there, and then Top Shot started to pop, and then so I kind of moved over there, and then started chasing NFTs like after Top Shot, and so I started getting NFTs in about March of like 2021. It was fun. Like the communities were always like really organic. It wasn't like this crazy like whitelist chasing kind of stuff going on. So I instantly like fell in love, and especially with like P2 earn stuff, like play to earn stuff, is really interesting, and it definitely like seemed like the next step for gaming and gaming communities. Being able to like sell your skins and stuff, I mean that just totally makes sense. Or any kind of like coin or like reward that you grind to earn, like being able to do what you want with it, like once you're hooked on that idea, I don't think you'll ever change it. So I definitely like just was hooked, and I believed in the idea right away. Um, and so since then, I've been like messing around with NFTs. Definitely a huge ape. Like I have like thousands and thousands of transactions. Most of the NFTs are probably hidden in my junk folder. That's still really fun. I'm hooked on the dopamine for sure. And I don't plan
Oh,
on
we
going
all
away.
have big
Oh
junk
yeah.
folder bags for
Right?
sure.
So I started messing around with Space Apes, which is now Galactic Apes. Back like last March, last April. I was like the sixth person in the Discord, I believe. So I've been around for like a long time. And the reveal and the sale of the generative collection is definitely like one of the highlights of my experiences in Discord, in trading, and everything. Like like you were saying earlier, the art just popped right away. There was tons like so I had been in Discord since the beginning, but there was tons of traits that were revealed that I did not see coming, and it was just like wow, like this is freaking like next level. And the run up to the all time high was great, but then the fall from grace was just as horrible. Um, so we've definitely been around the block, have seen the highs, have seen lows, and kind of have a lot of experiences, and I'm really happy to share them with everyone. I do agree with you that like education is something we really need in this space. It's not people's fault that they're ignorant to like what they're signing on MetaMask. Like people don't know really what they're doing because there's not a lot of education out there. And the stuff that is, it's kind of, I don't know. it's hard to like navigate what's really important and what's not. So I definitely happy to help like with education, like giving security tips and stuff like that. I've been scammed myself. I know how shitty it is. So that's one thing I'm really like interested to see, like people like getting help in that area and that become like a highlight. Um, but then also like play to earn. Like right now, a lot of people think play to earn is a four-letter word when it comes to NFTs, and that is the case. But it's just going to take one project to really pop. Uh, Game that is super super hard, and people have been pretty. I don't know. I think they've they've had their expectations too high. Most play to earn games have just been like a click of a couple of buttons and you're done for the day. It's going to take a while for someone to produce something meaningful and engaging, But once that's out there, it's going to be a different ball game, and play to earn is definitely going to like be on the rise again.
Well, there's a couple things that I'm really glad you said there. One was about the play to earn thing and just kind of making good games like absolutely takes time. And we saw that that meta that Wolf game kind of kicked off. Wizards and Dragons, Whales game was in there. There were a bunch of other ones that were really just kind of copycats, flash in the pans, and a lot of the expectations of what came out of P2E was incredibly like crazy too. But I think at that moment there was a seed planted in a lot of people that saw something bigger going on there, and they got to work. And I'm really excited for the next 6 months to 18 months, because you're going to see a lot of stuff come out that is now getting to the point where it can be pushed to production, pushed out into the public, and be enjoyed. Because those simple kind of risk protocols that you mentioned, I mean, they were pretty easy to just create a couple buttons, create a couple of different concepts, and this penalty, that penalty, this tax, that tax, and all that stuff. Not overly complex, not very deep game theory, and not really standing the test of time. But the education part too is really incredible, just simply because. I mean, I've been in crypto since mid 2017, back when, you had to be careful about when you were logged into your MetaMask, because every site that you visited had the ability to actually read it and potentially draw your funds from it. So it was like you never ever logged in your MetaMask unless you were on like a safe site, and then you logged out immediately. And like, that you kind of develop that weird level of paranoia being from the beginning. But when you're new to this space, it's just so easy to just overlook all of those little things. And it's an incredibly technical space, and you're 1,000,000% right that the education is going to be one of the big things. Education, understanding, and like a community that can rally around people that may have been a victim of malfeasance. Dilly, hit me with your background, man.
What's going on, guys? I'm Dylan, DillyDilly. I've dabbled in the crypto space since, I mean, honestly, way back when, probably like 9 years ago in college, when one of my buddies came back from study abroad in Hong Kong, and like all of a sudden had just turned into the biggest Bitcoin head in the world. But throughout the next few years, I think I was a little bit too short-sighted on that. I remember selling my first Bitcoins to buy a table at a nightclub for one night, and I've never forgotten about that since. So had a few second chances in that space.
Was it a good
luckily,
night at least?
no,
Okay, okay. Now we're at that
it
point.
was actually a terrible night. Only like half my friends paid me back. It was not even a good one. It was my 24th birthday. Um, I had a few second chances in the space. I'd luckily bought Chainlink really early on, and then forgot about it for about like 4 years until it had turned into something. During COVID, just like Kyle, I had I got bored with work a lot. I was in sales and distribution in the cannabis space, and a company that was really exciting as a startup, but really shitty as it got bigger and got corporate. So during COVID, I had started to play around with stocks and day trading, and I was honestly fucking terrible at it. Like, I could not read a chart for my life. I don't think I even tried to. I think I was just like in the Atlas Discord trying to copy trade the people who acted like they knew what they were doing. And that slowly had turned back into like shitcoins. So the natural progression of things from stock to shitcoins, I did pretty well with it until that like April, May crash. And around that time, I had been really curious about like what NFTs really were. I had this like super big brain idea about a horse racing ecosystem that could be done sustainably on NFTs, and then obviously I found out that Zedrun exists already, so that like made me super immersed into the space. I remember checking OpenSea for the first time, and on that, like right at that day, Wicked Craniums had just come out and had huge volumes, so I bought into that, and I just soaked everything up in that Discord for like a month and just tried to like learn about NFTs, about what projects are out there, about what people are doing, what's valuable, what's important. I ended up trading my Wicked Cranium for an ape, and then spent the last year plus just flipping apes. And the only other project that I really got heavily involved in was Galactic Apes, because it's like you said, you know, when the art revealed, it was just spectacular. It was probably what made me like pixel art for the first time. I think I really didn't understand it, or didn't just find it very aesthetically pleasing until Galactic Apes had come out, and I like swooned over it. So I spent almost all my time in that community, even over the Bored Ape community. I loved the ideas that were coming out. You know, Wes's original vision for mission mechanics with NFT rewards, even before coins were supposed to be introduced, I thought they were grandiose, almost impossible ideas, which is ironic now to think about. But at the time, it seemed like it was going to be a revolutionary game changer. So I always had so much love for the community in there, and spent so much time in there. When shit hit the fan, I didn't really want to see, you know, we've all seen countless projects rug, and they don't get revived, or there's nobody that comes to help, or yeah, it does turn over to a community project, but like there really is no saving it most of the time. And all I knew at that transition period where the contracts were getting out of Wes's hands and into, at the time, Space Yetis, and then to Augmented and Dots, was that I just did not want to see everybody's conviction burned on this project. Like people that were such believers in it, and how much good content there was in the project, I really didn't want to see that get ripped apart. So that's what made me want to be a part of it. And although we've unfortunately been stifled in our progress throughout the last month since Kyle and I have like helped take the helm on the project, it's still something that like to this day I just really want to see it flourish.
There 100% was something incredibly special around it. Not even just when the floor price was incredibly like high, but like, you know, there was a real sentiment that this project kind of had the it factor, right? And this is a good segue into P2E, because I feel like it kind of inadvertently got run over by the P2E meta, because you know, say what you want about Wes, but he had a vision for it, and that, of course, was you know, an NFT kind of rewarding gameplay. The token kind of thing hit, and then all of a sudden, you know, you couldn't go into a Discord without seeing
Yep.
when token, right? And I think that kind of just derailed the focus of it, and I think that, you know, the community kind of just lost sight of where they were going. Can you kind of just give us, for the people that are listening and aren't super familiar with Galactic Apes, what was that gameplay supposed to be? And now, knowing what you know now, do you think it would have worked if it hadn't kind of got derailed?
So the original game mechanics were, you know, especially honing in on that NFT rewards type of thing, was Galactic Apes as travelers. You want to assemble a crew with different bonus multipliers for efficiency based off of the amount of the crew that you had. So leading up to having 3 Galactic Apes, whether you had one of each genus, and using that, the idea of the mission mechanics were to be able to explore other planets and galaxies and be able to claim new lands and NFT rewards that would be spawned out of it. He had originally had the idea of having the galactic monkeys, who would essentially be the harvesters. So whereas galactic apes are travelers, these are the NFTs that you would essentially leave on a plot that was discovered, and they would be the we can call them yielding tokens, I guess. And when he had first come out with its inception, like the idea was not only that it would be an internal game that would be able to be played for NFT rewards, but interoperability was a big thing that he had pitched to us. essentially that if you had other collections such as, let's say, CyberKongs or Cool Cats, who have their own native token, they have their own, native economies, that we would be able to cross build between those projects and create content that would work for their benefit as well as ours. So for example, flying out to a place like the Galactic Apes would be rented out as a shuttle service of sorts, so that CyberKongs could go to a planet that was producing bananas or something of that nature, or anything that they had created or created together. This also included like artists' works and things like that. So the ideas, the way that he had put them forth, it seemed very, very innovative. And on top of that, like at first when he was opposed to a token, for a lot of people that made sense as well, because with a token things do get very muddled, and having like having a community led LP and trying to assign real world value to the price of that token, whereas an NFT could technically have value of its own. If there's an NFT that's created and OpenSea or the market decides that it has a certain price, like there is nothing that really disparates between having a token versus having an NFT as token. So the plans for the ecosystem were meant to be built, and we all knew that it was extremely ambitious, to the point where even though a lot of people got impatient, our patience was really strong, because we recognized that like this must be something that's super hard to put together. I mean, the narrative is there, we can see where it wants to go, but it wasn't a copy and paste. It wasn't like a Wolf Game Fork or Spawn. It was something that really needed like so many different variables to blend together well enough to be created, that like if it was, I mean, if you hadn't told us at the time, like, yeah, people were pissed, but like if we had waited another 6 months, we probably still would have been like, okay, like I kind of get it, this is going to change the game. So yeah, it was really different than what people had expected out of projects, and it fooled not only the people that loved the project, but outsiders were super excited about the prospects of it, whether they were invested or not. I know tons of CyberKongs that were on board with it, and they eventually went on to create the Play and Collect, which was very similar in the mission mechanics to what we were planning on doing. So it was definitely bound to be exciting, but especially once everything fell apart and we were trying to work with Space Yetis, and then now with Dots, like the more that you dig into it, the more unrealistic a lot of those things become, and kind of like sheds light on where we were at the entire time. Like who knows if maybe he was the only one that could have done it or had the ideas to do it, or if it was just a facade that was meant to keep us buying. But it definitely excited enough people to give hope that PDE is way more than just a simple stake to earn and earn to mint type of project.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an incredibly fascinating like story, and the ideas that were put out there and whatnot. So I appreciate you kind of running that down for us. I'm gonna jump back to Ice. I know you're a gamer, you're a P2E guy and whatnot. What's been your experience about P2E? And I don't know if Satoshi Runners is at that point right now, but maybe you could talk a little bit to that.
Yeah, for sure. So actually, prior to the situation that has happened, PTE was on the horizon, and they were working on something to to essentially emanate a Satoshi world that people can play a game and bond with each other, make friends, and also earn more of our Satoshi tokens while doing so, right? And I think that it really is the charm of NFTs and PTE, because it's immersifying, right? Like you said yourself, I used to be a huge gamer back then. I love our RPG games, Final Fantasy, Diablo 2, like those are like really up my alley. And I think one of the things that people find with these games is that yes, it's fun, yes, it's time consuming. If I'm not at school or work, this is what I'm playing. So wouldn't it be cool? Wouldn't it be amazing if I can somehow turn that Zenny gold or whatever the currency is into real world currency? And I think that is the angle that really carried over into the NFT space, because that feeling of being inside the game, that immersifying RPG feeling, that is realized through the PTE system. And I think was it Dilly that spoke of this earlier? You mentioned interoperability. I think that is really important for a successful PTE franchise right now, especially now where a lot of people are starting to leave the space. and interoperability and cross-chain, these things will allow multiple communities to really come together. And because we're not a World of Warcraft, right? We're not a Fortnite. We're not one of those crazy games with millions of player bases. So it really is up to us, not as a community, but in all of Ethereum and all of Solana, all together, we should come together and bring a game where everybody can play. So it doesn't matter if you're a Star Wolvez holder or only a Galactic Apes holder or only a Satoshi Runner holder. Wouldn't it be awesome if we can enjoy those, if we can enjoy those experiences from other games just because we hold one NFT? And I think that is the beauty of it. As long as we get to share that experience, no matter which community we're from, I think then we found success. What do you guys think?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, great setup. Yeah, Kyle, run with it, man.
yeah. I was just gonna say I agree. I mean, if you have to have a large audience base to play your game. You just can't limit it to whoever has like one of your 10K collection or something like that. So even if you go like a free to play route, and then maybe you have to have like NFT to get the reward or something, or a very broad based like metaverse game where everyone can come together and bond, have some social interactions like the auction house and WoW, and then also earn rewards with interoperability where maybe you could go somewhere like to a planet get bananas or something. I definitely see that on the horizon and think like that's in the future. And personally, that's like the future I want for NFTs and play to earn gaming. And I'm very bullish on it, and I think that's where we're going. But at the same time, like I was saying, you have to be able to have like a large audience into your game. So if you do make something where a bunch of communities can come together, I think that would definitely be magical.
Yeah,
All right,
for sure.
thanks.
And that was, I think, one of the great things about the conversations we've been having amongst our three projects. And this isn't like, I'm going to air quote like a collaboration or anything, but, how Star Wolvez is building in this space. Our ethos has always been interoperability to be able to bring other, particularly pixel art projects into the fold, just to be able to participate. Or, if you have one Star Wolf and one Galactic Ape and, one AIC or Satoshi Runner or whatever, like just have this like very, very wide stable of NFTs that are usable within the Star Wolvez game. And that was just always very exciting because a lot of these projects just carry such like special moments in our heart, or the art is just amazing, or the community is fantastic. And us having those conversations are really are just like the very beginnings of what interoperability really is, right? Because you have to be talking to each other, you have to be looking for ways to support each other, lift each other up, and really kind of navigate this treacherous space, especially in the market that we're kind of in. ETH's running up right now, but I think we're all waiting for some NFT volume to come back. We're looking for some excitement in the space, and I really just think like having these great cross community discussions, whether they're in private or whether they're in public, up on a Twitter space like this, is just one of the things that's going to drive us forward and really kind of get that snowball rolling down the hill so that it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Kyle, you said something earlier too that I wanted to kind of circle back on, and that was that P2E has kind of become a four-letter word within NFTs. I don't think anyone is ignorant to the fact that traditional gamers are very hostile towards NFTs in general. Like that, it's a scam, it's a Ponzi, greater fool theory, blah 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 blah. I've heard it all. And of course, you mentioned education, and I think that that's a big component about getting it out to people. But specifically to the idea that P2E is a four-letter word, how do we redefine the narrative? How do we redefine the expectations of what play to earn is? One of the things we talk about on this space a lot is, even rebranding P2E to more of like a P and O, which would be play and own, and kind of just ditching that connotation that you are specifically playing a game so that you can earn. Because at the end of the day, people have played games for, decades now, and there's been no expectation of any kind of yield or payback or compensation or value creation in it. And, that's been fine because there's an enjoyment of it. There's a social component to it. P2E is or play and own is this really profound way to kind of not only hold ownership of it, but perhaps release a little bit of value back into your life after you're done using it, like a Fortnite skin or a World of Warcraft weapon or something like that. How are we redefining that narrative, and how are we going to get it back into a positive light?
Okay, well, the good news is I don't think anyone that ever kind of comes to like the side of NFTs and playing to own or just NFT blockchain gaming, I don't think they would prefer to go backwards to like not being able to sell something they buy from a market or not be able to get rewards that they can like have ownership of. So that's the good news is once we get people like pill to the idea, I don't think they're going to leave. Um, but it is an uphill battle. If you go to like a lot of kind of like geeky websites or gamer websites like IGN or Uprocks, they do get a lot of marketing money from like gaming industry and stuff like that. And the gaming industry definitely doesn't want us to take over because a big like they're making billions of dollars. They have a huge market, but a lot of that does come from microtransactions. You know, like skins or DLC packs, etc., music packs. And so NFTs are definitely a threat to that. So we're going to be fighting an uphill battle against culture, like pop culture and gaming culture for a while. But I think it's a losing battle on their side. Um, like big scams don't hurt us, but there's definitely a big movement within discords and kind of like grassroots for crypto and for blockchain stuff and being able to like trade assets. So I definitely think it's still going to be more like hitting up indie groups and kind of having like a cult kind of following with this, and then it just kind of swells and goes from there. I think it's just kind of being like genuine and like producing good content, and then it will work out for us in the end. I'm sorry, I wish I had a better answer for you, and that's kind of long-winded, but that's what I got.
Yeah,
No, that was a
I've got a couple things to add
fantastic
to it
one.
actually.
Yeah, please do.
So I think like if we reflect back on the gaming space, that probably most of us that are in NFTs have played. Like you think about these MMOs like a RuneScape or a Maple Story, or even online mobile games that have like gachapon systems, and like you ask yourself where the in-game economy was created, even though there's no token generating real world currency for people in those games. People still wanted to pay money to play those games, and I think that's where the disconnect is right now in the games that have been created in the space so far. The only reason that you would invest your money into the game is to create more money out of it at the end. So there's a separation of immersion that people aren't getting in these video games because they're not buying things because they like the things. People don't even mind wasting their money on something they're never going to get a return on if they like the thing that they're getting, like in so many of these mobile games. But the only reason that people are spending money on the tokens that they can use in the game to mint more stuff, to make more yield, is for that exact reason. And I think Raid Party was really exciting for a while because people did feel like there was an inherent use for the coin that made them want to choose to invest it into the game instead of just cashing out and cashing out and cashing out, thinking that you're just going to continue to create liquidity as you play an idle click game. But it did touch for the first time on something where people thought that the value proposition of spending your tokens to further yourself in the game by leveling up, by upgrading, creating new heroes, burning heroes, doing things like that, it was enough that people actually did get excited about it, and they did like to play it, and it worked for a while until it had gone on too long, or until the people with who had done the most or spent the most were willing to cash out. And I think it was a good first step, but also like still touches upon the problem that we see in P2E gaming, which is that like people aren't immersed enough to spend their money on whatever the game is producing to make it fun. Even though games of the past didn't have a real in-game economy where you can cash out, people would still go on eBay to buy a party hat for RuneScape just because somebody had grinded for it forever and had already been at a max level. And they knew they weren't getting a return on that party hat either, but they were still spending real world money to get the in-game content. So I think that, projects who can replicate that sense of immersion, that's where we're going to finally see the bridge break and people actually flock to play to earn gaming. Like, I think that people aren't adverse to spending their money. I think that the byproduct of making money needs to be a byproduct and not the main aspect. And that's why I think what you said about changing the name play to earn is really important, because it should be a byproduct of having fun. Because if the game's not fun, then nobody's going to play. It's not going to be worth anything. And I'm pretty sure that's what a lot of people must be working towards when they're creating their games, because that's the one thing that's missing that's going to help us get there. People don't buy Fortnite skins thinking like this Fortnite skin's going to double, going to 3x in the next year. Like they bought it because they're like, a Naruto Fortnite skin sounds dope. Let me get that.
Yeah, exactly. They're playing the game regardless of whether there's any kind of like a quote unquote value creation out of it. But, they jump into this metaverse that already exists with their friends and they just want to look pretty dope, right? Like, it's a pretty simple
Exactly.
concept that I think like it gets so lost sometimes in this whole like P2E discussion, is that the underlying thing just has to be fun. It has to be something that people want to put their time into. And then that time can turn into value for somebody else that has capital but not a lot of time. And we've seen that time and time. I'm using the word time a lot. Holy, we've seen that constantly in things like World of Warcraft, where or tons of other games. But somebody doesn't have the time to be a max level player and grind all the way, but they still want to play with their friends who are level 100 and doing end game content. And Blizzard is more than happy to accept money in return for that time, right? And I think that the one big shift that we're going to be seeing is that the NFTs, rather than being a token gate into playing the game, the NFTs are going to be like the base layer, securing the network, so to speak, and they're going to be releasing that value to the people who have the money but not the time. And rather than it being Blizzard allowing the customers to give them money, it will be more of a peer-to-peer kind of transaction of time and whatnot. And I just find that really fascinating. I find it really powerful. And kind of going back to what Kyle said, once I think people understand that that's a possibility with NFTs and that it's not just a speculative investment because you want to buy this and make money from it in this way, I think that dynamic can shift. And I wholeheartedly agree with what he said. And that's basically a one-way street. And that once you go down it, you're not going back down the other way. Ice, like hit me with your thoughts on where P2E is and how we're going to shed some of the negative connotations.
Yeah, brother. I love that analogy you said about play and own, because that's exactly where my headspace is at too, right? We always hear this cliche P to E, P to E. Well, what is P to E? It's play and earn. But by definition, playing to earn, it's goal driven, right? P to E, play to earn. That's kind of like a job if you think about it, because like the reason you're playing is to earn. But in reality, why do people play World of Warcraft, Diablo, or all these games? They're playing it because it's fun. They're playing it because it gives them relaxation and it's an entertainment for them. To play to earn is not really the solution. It should be to play and earn. You should be able to play and have fun and earn money or whatever while doing it. And I think if you can make a game that really does that, then you've succeeded as a P2E ecosystem. And to build upon what Dilly said earlier regarding Raid Party, it was one of the earliest games that we saw in the NFT space that really cultured that feeling. Because for a long time, P2E was like pardon my French, but it was just shitty mobile looking games, right? It just kind of looked like that. And especially in the bull market, there's just so many derivatives, so many people coming out with cookie cutter stuff. And at the time, it was impressive, sure, but the more people started to catch on, the more people started to realize that, okay, maybe this isn't the hype P2E game that we want to be a part of. And as bull markets continue, they build up this reservoir of irrational exuberance. Investors come in, their mentality, their irrationality drives these prices up. And sideliners see that, and then they want to get a piece of the pie. So then they join the NFT space and they buy in. But eventually, when those expectations fail and it falls fast. And I think we all saw that with what happened with all these projects that we've been talking about. So it's a tough workaround, especially in times now where the market has cooled off. So especially now that everything is kind of moving sideways. Well, not today, ETH is mooning. But in general, over the past couple of weeks, while things are going sideways, it's definitely a good time to be connecting with other projects that are doing similar things, because we're all facing the same issue, really. How do we combat this stagnant of a P2E game? How do we overcome this and make things actually fun? And I think that is the question that if we can find an answer to, then P2E will be successful. And I truly do believe that P2E will be successful, and it is just upon the horizon. And sometime soon, one of these guys, hopefully one of us in this conversation right now, are going to figure it out.
Well, and that's the thing, right? And that's why it is so important to kind of find these other projects, find these other people that are thinking along the same wavelengths with this stuff, and really just kind of start bumping your heads together and having a good conversation. I mean, I've thought endlessly about, play and earn, play and own, however you want to call it, over the past, oh my God, we're I guess now 9 months and whatnot, but even just having this conversation with the three of you up here, I already I feel like I'm looking at this a little bit differently, or like this is a great idea and whatnot. And I think when you can kind of amalgamate that brain share of all these different people thinking about it and their own experiences and coming together about how it could work, it's just such a profound thing. And that's why I'm thrilled that we were able to connect and have this conversation. And I want to just continue the narrative going on, because I mean, Satoshi Runners, a very vibrant community that's kind of taking a beating right now. And Ice, I got to commend you for stepping up and really kind of taking it on. And then of course Dilly and Kyle doing the same thing for Galactic Apes, which just has such a long, rich history and just such an amazing community. There's still people in there that believe in the project, believe in Dilly, Kyle, everything else that's going on, and it's the community's project now. So putting these communities kind of in touch with each other, and not just the community leaders, like the actual communities. Like if anybody from the Galactic Apes Discord or the Satoshi Runners Discord is listening right now, I highly recommend coming into the Star Wolvez Discord, and any of the Star Wolvez people, I highly recommend going and checking out what they've got going on, because these are NFTs, these are true digital provenance, and once they're in your wallet, you own it, right? And now these projects belong to the communities. So there's still so much value to be had. There's still so many great people to meet and interact with these communities. And I'm just so excited to seeing some Galactic Apes, some Satoshi Runners hop in the Star Wolvez Discord. And again, I hope our community does the same thing, because we're going to keep this conversation going. Incredible how quickly 45 minutes can go by when you're just having this discussion that happens organically about things that we're passionate about. But I want to just throw it out to Dilly and Kyle right now. Like, we hop into the Galactic Apes Discord. Like, how we feeling? What are we looking for? How can I be a great member? If you look at the floor price right now, it's 0.02, 0.03. Incredibly, affordable to just go in there and meet some people and maybe have a chance at some value creation, but again, like access into that community. Like what's going on in there?
Yeah, so the Galactic Apes have been extremely resilient. All of the day one guys that had already been spending every day in there are still doing so. There's definitely some internal turmoils just because of the amount of emotional scarring that people had to go through with such high expectations on the project. So there is a little bit of a divide, but typically those are people that, pop in every once in a while to see if the project is alive or dead. And like, I truly empathize with anybody who's frustrated, both for, what happened and also for how snail's pace we've been moving. But all in all, like the main people that spend their time in there, like they still are happy for what they've taken from the project, which is the people that they've become friends with, all of the other activities that we've done together. There's a chat called the Degeneral chat, which is basically we all consolidated to start our own little alpha group and just like have fun with other projects throughout the time that we were being patient for Wes and now being patient on this end. So there are a lot of people whose spirits are still high on it. Part of both mine and Kyle's opinion is like we almost wish that like the expectations were never painted so tremendously high, because the art itself, like if this was just a PFP project like so many others had, I think that like it would have stood the test of time a little bit stronger, and that people are so fixated on the past deliverables that like nothing will satisfy until we've reached that point, whether it drives the price or not. But there is so much good that still happens in there, and like so many people that still contribute daily and like just like to be around each other, and that's become our sanctuary of sorts to them. So if you were going to join the Galactic Apes, The price is obviously, very affordable at this point. The art is still as beautiful as it was at 3 Ethereum, despite what Twitter may say. And there's a lot of great people to learn from in there and talk to.
Well said, Dilly. Definitely agree with everything you said. The general chat is definitely the main hangout now. We love it there. Come hang out with the DJs. We find free mints. We keep our eyes on the market at all time for sure. Coming up, we're battling OpenSea with our migration right now. We're trying to migrate our contract, but OpenSea's copycat project or collection tech flagged our new collection and blocked it. So I created a ticket and email back and forth with OpenSea to get them to unblock us. So once we get unblocked, we're going to kick off our migration full speed. We have art done for Pixel Farmland. So as soon as we can get our migration done, we're probably going to be integrated in Pixel Farm pretty soon. We got spaceships coming up. But more than that, just come into our Discord and chill. We're really fun guys. Most of us have been at this for a while. We got a lot of experience, a lot of stories, and it's just pretty much a really laid back vibe. So we look forward to anyone stopping by. Come say hi, tell them that you heard us in this chat and that Dilly sounds like Steve-O, and you'll fit in just fine. And I'm really glad that everyone turned out today. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, I love it, man. It's and you're correct. Like, yeah, I hopped in the chat there. I wasn't chatting, but I checked it out. And again, we're coming up on a year from the mint of the Galactic Apes. There are still people in there chatting, and as Dilly said, an incredibly resilient community. Ice, you wanted to talk a little bit about the last couple days, the last weeks in Satoshi Runners and where you're at right now. And I do want to say, even just in the conversations that we've had, you've maintained an incredibly positive attitude. It's all about eyes forward. And of course, Dilly and Kyle, the same thing with Galactic Apes. I could safely say in all of our conversations and messages, there's never been bad mouthing. It's never been negative. It's just okay, we are in this situation where we are right now. Let's see where we can go forward from here. And I think that's an incredibly valuable mindset to have. So Ice, hit me.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. Well, there's no hiding it. Like the stuff that happened, it's definitely torn the community apart a little bit. But in my eyes, it's kind of like the best thing that could have happened in a bad situation. Because while yes, there are people that are footing and there are upset and angry investors that just we don't want anything to do with this. I want out now. But what surprised me the most was the number of people that have reached out. Like Chuanzo reached out to me right away. Like within 10 minutes of it happening, he had Pontiac reached out, Chuanzo reached out, people from Fat Cats reached out, all these partner communities sharing that love. And that was just so motivating. And to be frank, even the people that are fudding us, man, you really can't hurt me. The more you FUD, that just gives me the motivation to fight on stronger. So I don't know if anyone is listening to this, but thank you for it, I suppose, because what we have now, I believe, is stronger than what we ever had, even in the beginning of the project, because the people that are here now, they're not driven by just monetary goals. Because back then, it's very easy to drive a project based on monetary encouragement, right? Hey, you want to get in on this because you can make money. But when people are sticking around in the community and they're working alongside you and they're working for free, that is probably the hallmark of the strongest community that I have ever seen. And the feelings of these people signing up onto the project, they're willing to extend that helping arm. That has just been nothing but positive. So back to what you were saying about how has the 48 hours been? So initially we had some shakeout. And then after some shakeout, the community, we were actually rallied together and we're standing really strong right now. And I think that determination and rallying has given us new hope. And to me, that hope is really something that we want to show. And just like all three projects here today, we've all had our ups and we've all had our downs. But especially times like now where the bear market is super strong, we really want to band together and show the world that, hey, yes, it is what it is, but we're still standing, we're still here fighting, and we're still here building. And we're not alone. And that feeling of not being alone is enough to just push me to 150% every single day. And I feel this. I feel that same kind of that energy coming from the folks at Galactic Apes, and definitely from StarWolvez. So it's honestly an absolute pleasure, and thank you guys so much for having me up here today. Meeting you guys has, I wouldn't be. I would rather not be anywhere else. This is an amazing experience. Thank you, man.
Dude, I gotta say, if you ever get bored of Web3, I mean, you could go on to be like a motivational speaker, or like, some like colleges could pay you to go into like the football locker room before a game and just get the team like pumped up like against all odds.
100%.
I'm right here. I'm like, I'm gonna start working right now. Let's go. This was this was incredible. You guys are amazing, and I don't mean this to sound corny, but it is like it is truly inspirational to know that there are people in Web3 that are just really doing amazing things, and really just taking care of these incredible projects. One of the things that Ice just kind of mentioned, and it's kind of runs parallel to where we are in not only the NFT market, but kind of the crypto market, even though it is having a couple of pretty good weeks here, is just that, the people that are left in here are the people that want to be here, right? And when, a Satoshi Runners kind of goes through something like they just did, or a Galactic Apes goes through something like they did, when you shake it all out and you see what's left there, you have a community that wants to be there because, as you said, the idea of monetary gain or recompensation or whatever, I mean, it does just get kind of like washed out, and what's left are some pretty incredible people that are just believers in this, and that's the same for the macro market. The people that are left in NFTs every day now are a lot of them are going to be the ones that are here because they see the potential in the technology, they see the potential in the future, they see the potential for not only just artwork and JPEGs, but play to earn and how it can disrupt the music industry and these really, really incredible ideas that we're all working towards. And having the conversation with the three of you up here is an incredible reminder of all of those things. So we're going to wrap this up. Anybody that tuned in late and is interested in hearing this, it is of course recorded on Twitter, but I will give it a visual treatment and throw it up on the StarWolvez YouTube, as we like to do with all of our Twitter spaces. I would love for you guys to share it with your community too, because I think these spaces are not only valuable about putting communities together, but because you kind of step away from just talking about your specific project and just talking about your ideals and your knowledge and your experiences, I think it just should really get people excited about who's at the helm of these projects. So on that note, I can guarantee you this is not the last time that any of us will talk. I look forward to all of our future conversations. Please go check this out if you tuned in late. It was an incredible discussion, and I appreciate each and every one of you.
Likewise, brother. Thank you so much for having us up here. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, seriously, thank you, man. It's been awesome.
Love you guys. All right, we will catch you again on Twitter Spaces for Moon Monday on the StarWolvez side of it.